Good morning. This half chaotic morning, I would say. This is my second stand-up, and the second stand-up that is kind of a bit late because of things. But let's see. Are we work? Yeah, everything works. So some of you are online. I think Diego is on his way in. I know that Mats and Niklas is as well, so they will be probably surprised that we are live when they enter. So let's see where to start. I wanted to tell a bit about what happened here with Ingrok and stuff. So let's see. Mats, we are live, and Diego as well. Welcome. We are live and speaking. So Diego, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, perfect. Yeah. So we got hold up in the conversation so that was why we are a bit late. But the problem is that we have a assignment in one of in the first year, I think, that is using Ngrok to make a tunnel into the local web server. And this one has been blocked and blocked and blocked all over again by the IT department. And yesterday, a student tried to work with that assignment, and it was blocked again. So I contacted IT, and IT said, no, it's not blocked. And turns out that Sunet in Sweden has blocked some of the IP numbers that Ngrok used because they have been in some kind of abuse situations. But they were kind enough to unblock them for us. So hopefully Ngrok will still continue to work. The problem was that it wasn't even allowed for GitLab to contact an Ngrok endpoint. So that made it hard to do experiments with webhooks from GitLab. Hopefully it will still work. We don't know. But that was why we were late. So, in today's stand-up, nothing especially new. We will just have a quick word about the project that was announced last week. You have all information that you should be on the web page since last week. So just to some notes, the deadline for the assignment is the last day of this study period or the last day of the semester. But that is the hand-in for the assignment and report and everything. Before that, it will be a oral exam that will not be well, it will probably include the project in some way or another. We haven't decided on that yet. You will have a second deadline, a renewed examination, and yet another new examination in June. So as usual, 3 shots for the examination, and then it's or to be part of the next course occasion that is next autumn. The assignment is pretty straightforward. You can read about, I presented litter last time. There are no changes in that. We can have a look at the non-functional requirements soon. But the first thing that you need to note, and I wrote a Slack message about this, is that we want you to create a first report called Report 1. And the report is not like a PDF file or something. It's just that your group wiki should be up to date on the 6th of December with these things that is described here. So we will go into your wiki and look at those stuff at starting this the 7th of December. So what do you need in the wiki? Well, you should have a link to a start URL of the application. And this means that by the 6th of December, you at least need to have created some kind of web server or anything that serves a working URL. It could be like a blank white page. doesn't matter, but it should at least be a URL. And then you should stick to that URL throughout the project. And this URL and this should never break. It should always be like progressively better as long as you continue to integrate new features into your application. So we should always be able to see this URL as the public URL of your application. That is always like the one that people will use. You should have a description of your deployment pipeline anatomy. We will see more about that in the non-functional requirements. The continuous delivery principles that you adopt, we will have a look at that in the non-functional requirements as well. And you should have a design for this application. Which microservices will you create? How will they communicate with each other? Will you have queues somewhere? How will you handle data persistency? And please make some kind of schematic drawing of the system, so you don't just describe everything in a big chunk of text. Have some kind of system or drawing, so we can easily get a grip of how you will design this. And to help you in this process, we have scheduled a design meeting this afternoon at 1:15. I highly recommend that at least one in each group participates, but you are of course all welcome. So and on this one you will kind of show what your thoughts are, how you plan to build this, and then we can have a discussion and see what solutions are suitable and which are not. So this is kind of to help you in the right direction. But this is what needs to be done the 6th of December. Report 2 is still to be announced, the exact details of the second report. If you want to have details about what we mean by this, go into the non-functional requirements, and there is kind of a list of things that you should do. Of course, the application should be put into production in the Kubernetes cluster. So a good starting point would probably be to set up the cluster, just to have the cluster being able to serve just a blank HTML page or something. You should also have some kind of staging environment. How you want to implement this is totally up to your project group. You can have a specific staging cluster and one specific production environment, or you can read up on blue-green environments and have two similar environments that you swift, that one is active and one is not active, and you shift them. Swap them. Thank you. That's the correct word. I don't remember if, we have GitLab actually has kind of good documentation on how to do blue-green documentation. So you can read up on that. You should have some kind of replication of the databases that you use. There is a pattern in the book called the Command and Query Responsibility Segregation pattern, the simple word. It's CQRS, I think, CQRS or
I'm impressed you just pulled that out.
Yeah. And and this is a technique used to offload the load of the database, so that you can have write queries to one instance, and then you can have many replicas that you can read from. And there is a detail in this later application that says that you should really focus on that. In January, we will have a lot of heavy load on our application, and probably most of the load will be read queries. So someone wants to read information, so then you need to have some database replication for that. You should have a deployment pipeline. Of course, we have talked about pipelines as well. So early on in the project, the team should agree upon a deployment pipeline anatomy, and this is the one that should be included in the report for next week as well. So what will trigger the pipeline? What stages will you use? What should you do on a failed test? Responsibilities? How do you share secrets in this environment, and so on? This is just an example of what could be part of the deployment pipeline anatomy. I like this one, Diego. I think you have written that one in an earlier project, that we should utilize continuous improvement. And that is one important aspect of the project, that we will not be able to do everything perfectly just from the start. So please don't be afraid to kind of improve during the project and change things that you notice don't work. So if you need to go back and add a stage, for instance, that is totally fine, but you should still have a plan from the beginning. But you can always change that plan. But just make sure to keep the documentation up to date. So if we go into your documentation about the document pipeline anatomy, it should be up to date. Yeah, and then we have the continuous delivery principles. Which branch, how will you work with branching, merging? Should you have one repo for all the services, or should you have one repository for each service? That is totally up to you to decide. How will you work as a team? When will you work? Which tools? How will you meet? Will you have daily stand-ups? Everything like that you need to decide early on as well. What I should say is that you are used to the project. If you think about, for those of you who did a project in the first year, there was a lot of documentation, a lot of focus on documentations. You should write daily test specifications. You should write test documentation and all of that. So we don't have any requirements for basically how you document more than that is part of the report. So that is totally up to you as well. How will you work with documentations in this project? It's totally free for you to decide. A bit about testing. I mean, if we should create this as an optimal project, you should have a lot of tests, and probably maybe not 100% coverage, but you would like to have at least a big chunk of the code base tested. However, it's not a focus in this course. It's not a focus of testing, but testing is an important part in the continuous integration pipelines. So try to integrate one test at least, maybe one test per microservice or something like that. So you can have tests that fail. So you can try, okay, what happens if someone breaks a test? What will happen with the pipeline? Will it still be pushed into production? That's a bad thing. But, so you can have try that out as well. So maybe some kind of unit test or another type of test. And then we just added a list of optionals that you can try out if you like. We have been talking a lot about, oh, this one is strange. We have been talking a lot about CI/CD flows, but there is something called the GitOps flow that I know that some of you have already tried out in the second assignment. So you are free to use that in this assignment as well, if you like. You could also, we haven't actually set that as a requirement, but observability. How can we use tools to observe what is happening in our clusters, where the traffic is going, how is the load balancer dividing the traffic to different services and things like that. If you were to go for, which I would probably recommend trying out, Istio Service Mesh or another service mesh tool, then you will get a lot of those things by the tool. So that could be a good thing.
That was the one we showed early in this course, very early, where we could see the flow of traffic in the application in a very graphical way, and we could get logs and stuff for free.
Yeah. So I would probably recommend to try out Istio or another service mesh, but Istio is probably the most popular one, so it would probably be the most well documented and you managed to get it running, Niklas. So it should be easy. Yeah.
If I can do it, you can do it.
Yeah. Okay. Anything to add to this, Diego, Mats, Niklas? No.
No, I'm looking forward to see what you're actually building.
Yeah.
It'll be very funny.
Yeah. So note that on. I can show. No, I cannot. But note that we have this design meeting this afternoon at 1:15.
Yeah, maybe mentioning that this swap between environments to have the zero downtime, it appeared in the optional and in the compulsory.
So, I mean, the optional part is that you should have zero, basically, downtime. But maybe to accomplish that, zero downtime. It's a bit tricky. The only thing to have exactly zero, I guess, is green-blue, the blue-green deployment, right?
This one,
yeah,
one of the techniques.
Yeah, that's one of the techniques. But it is still an optional. But I mean, you could. I think that what you're fishing for is that if you put a pipeline that restarts services in a cluster, then you will probably not have zero downtime, because it will probably, during some seconds, it will be unreachable, maybe, when the services restart. Was it that you thought about, Diego?
Oh, it was just to clarify, because when you mention it about swapping between environments, we have not reached the optional parts.
No.
So
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So this part. You are correct. So this is one way of doing it, having a product cluster and a staging cluster, and then when staging is finished, you just push to the production cluster. That is what we did in probably the second assignment, and we did in our demos as well. The other part is just to swap those. So this one is always this one is always the one that is live, and this one is live. This one is live, and you push to this one, try it out. If everything works, you swap. So now this one is live on that side, and this one is the old, and then you can swap it on, and then you just change. So that is the blue-green part, and you can try that out. You could also, if you like to have just one cluster, you could actually work with namespaces. So you only have one cluster, but you work with namespaces in that cluster. That would also be a way forward. It would be really nice if someone tried out the blue-green deployment, actually. I haven't done it, so I'm a little bit, maybe it's really hard. But it's probably not, because the documentation is not that big for doing this. So there is support for this in the pipelines, I think, even so. But I'm a little bit unsure how to configure a load balancer in CS Cloud to make this happen.
Well, I think it's on the service level in Kubernetes. Isn't it like the service goes to different deployments? I don't think you load balancer.
Okay, so you're doing that in the same cluster. You don't have two clusters.
No,
of course. That would be pretty easy then, I guess.
Yeah. But I think, you have to read up. But I think you do it on the service level in Kubernetes.
Yeah, of course. Then it's not a problem. It's harder if you swap the clusters, I guess.
That would
be hard. That was what I thought. But of course, if you do it on the service level, it should work. Good. Okay, so we will not waste any more time on that one. I will just say that, so I got a question this morning, because some of you have, or many of you have a cluster up and running on your accounts, because you have the second assignment, you have created the cluster for that, and now you want to create a new cluster for this project. So you will use the project members CS Cloud accounts. So we will not create a project group account for you on CS Cloud, because all of you project members, you have already accounts on CS Cloud. So use them. And there should be plenty of room. So you have 10 instances in CS Cloud. So you can have 10 instances running at the same time, 20 CPUs and 60 gigabyte of RAM. So that should be plenty enough to have 2 clusters running on. So please leave the cluster for the assignment 2 up and running until we have assessed that assignment. Of course, we should be able to recreate all of that using the files in your assignment, but it would be convenient if it's actually up and running when we look at it. So yeah, you could probably squeeze in 3 or 4 clusters in this one. Depends on how many worker nodes you create.
Yeah.
Was there any more questions that have come up?
I got questions about the retake of assignment 1. So
Yep.
I can talk about this later.
Yep.
No.
Go ahead.
Or when you now?
Yep.
Yeah. Yes, some of you have also asked if we have published the grades, because you cannot receive them. We are going to do it during the week. So after this meeting, we will start publishing them. So no worries if you have not received them so far, or Monday or Tuesday.
Yep. And official deadline, I think, actually is next Monday. Then it's 15. What is it? We have
15 days
15 days
by the end of this week.
Yep. Exactly. Good.
So, Johan, the next deadline for assignment 1 is
June, I think.
June. Okay.
Yeah. 19th of June. And this should be plenty enough, since there is no, this course is not a prerequisite for any of the courses in the spring semester. So. Otherwise, sometimes we squeeze in another deadline after Christmas, but not in this assignment or the second assignment, I think. You will better to focus on the group assignment now. Okie doke. See you at 1:15 then. But you're muted, Niklas, so I don't know what you said.
Yeah, if we are in time this time.
Yeah, yes, Niklas, you will be in time for that meeting. I will probably be in time for that meeting. I have a appointment elsewhere at 11, but I should be back by 1:15. I really hope so.
Yeah.
So it will probably work out. Okay. Bye-bye.